everybody, so I'm bringing you some research that I started back in 2018. I found this on my computer just the other day. I was researching some of the brands that are pretty notorious for their holiday releases, and I was researching what their holiday releases have been like over the years. And anyway, I had done a little bit of research on a bunch of different brands, and this just inspired me again because I thought that I would talk about the sort of evolution. And I'll see if you guys like this, then I will do more on more brands. And as always, please leave your recommendations for videos like this that you'd like to see. I love the research stuff. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the whole research angle. It's probably one of the things I have the most fun with. I just really like digging into the history. It's just something I really enjoy. So this is all about the evolution of Tarte and the Tarte Holiday collections. So there's a lot to talk about since we are going to go back to 2006, but at the very beginning I just want to start with a little bit of a framework for Tarte itself and just a couple of little interesting facts that I found out. This is not an in-depth history on Tarte, so let me know if you would be interested in seeing something like that. I did do one on Urban Decay's origin story, so if you haven't seen that one, that might be interesting to you as well. So Tarte was formed in 1999 by a woman named Maureen Kelly. It started as a passion project, and Maureen actually had help from her makeup artist, Troy Surratt, who helped launch Tarte, which I actually didn't know that, so that was really interesting. There was a lot of success and also a lot of tragedy with Tarte. For those of you who don't know, Maureen Kelly tragically lost her husband in 9/11, so that had a personal impact on her, and I think it did impact the brand as well, since the brand was so new and so much still that they were trying to discover with Tarte. So anyway, we are going to go back to 2006. So when I initially did my research, I actually worked backwards. So I started with present 2020 releases, and then I started digging backwards. Let me just say also at the very beginning, God bless Temptalia and a bunch of the other makeup blogs that have existed for a long time, because that's where I ended up pulling a lot of these images from when I was doing Google searches, because there wasn't as many people talking about makeup. As it gets into the more recent stuff, there's a lot more image and a lot more promo pictures, but that stuff is definitely lacking in those sort of early days. So I got stuck when it came to 2006. I was working backwards and everything was good. I got to 2008, 2007, I was still finding images. 2006, I got stuck. And then I found a Wall Street Journal article, and this was called "Retailer Finds a Shortcut on QVC." So sometime in 2006, Tarte products were being sold at Sephora as well as on QVC. They created a sample set of products. This was called Tarte 101 Intro to Beauty, which contained 4 products, which I'll get into in a minute. But it was a surprise hit. People would pay for these smaller sort of travel sample sizes. It wasn't something that had been done like this before. And it was so successful on QVC that Sephora decided to order the exact same kit for their holiday releases. You can kind of blame Tarte for some of those sample sets, because Sephora saw how successful it was on QVC and how much they sold and how that people were interested in these smaller sets and would buy them, that Sephora then started doing it themselves. So the Tarte 101 Intro to Beauty 4-piece discovery gift set retailed for $30 at the time. It was described as being for the gal on the go. It was inside a black lace trimmed makeup bag. You had 4 Tarte Beauty Basic Essentials: Blushing Bride Cheek Stain, which was a sheer deep plum; Tarte 24/7 Lip Sheer in Friday, a sheer deep berry; Fred and Ginger Duo Lip Gloss, sheer nude and shimmery champagne; and Sugar Daddy, sparkling champagne, an all-over glistening powder. So this was the first thing, and it wasn't even initially planned on being a holiday set. It was just released around the time of the holidays. Another item they had at this time was something called the Little Black Dress Eye Kit, which was $42, and it was a purple-covered mirrored compact with 8 shadows, from neutral to wow. So there's a whole thing about going from work to play and having these sort of what they consider to be sample products, and a lot of their products were purples. It was a lot of berries. That was the thing that was in. So 2007, they decided to do a real honest to goodness holiday collection. This was We Wish You Wealth, Health, and Happiness, and it was a palette that they said had a $482 value. So this is a thing that I've noticed with holiday sets, and specifically Tarte, is that they would put a bunch of stuff together in a package, slap on some ridiculous value tag, and profit. So this was fairly large, elaborate packaging. It does look a little cheap compared to some stuff we see now, although I think you do have to consider the time. This was 2007, pretty on brand for 2007, and we have seen so much change in the makeup industry, so just keep that in mind when you're looking at these images, that they are fairly relevant to the time, but this is meant to look expensive. So inside the large kit was eyeshadows, 16 pans of eyeshadow, some interesting shades, especially when you look at what's trending right now. Like there's a lot of green, there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of purple. So you can see how trends sort of cycle. There's a lip gloss kit. These are the things that I sort of personally hate in these kind of kits, and I know a lot of people complain about them too. There's also a third set that has a mix of different like cheek products and different creamy products to be used in a variety of different ways, but it's a set of 3 different things, and they just kind of remind me a little bit of those sort of cheap drugstore type palettes. Like I had one of those things that was like an all-in-one kit and had like the creams and the powders, and it cost like what, $50 maybe. And then the smaller set was cheek tints, and it was specifically 16 shadows, 16 glosses, 4 gel eyeliners, 4 cheek stains, 3 24/7 lip sheers, 1 eyelid primer, and 1 luminizer. So that was in the big kit. So it's a pretty large set, and Tarte decided to do something similar once again in 2008. They had the Vanity Palette. So it was very much continuing on with this trend. Many similar shades when you compare the 2007 palette and the 2008, like some sort of the shadows look rearranged, but there isn't a whole lot of difference between them. But again, this was supposed to look expensive. This was supposed to look like a kit, and that's where they would mark sort of the value up on it. It wasn't necessarily the product as well, as that they would add the extra value based on the packaging. So again, you have in this kit 16 shadows, 16 glosses, 1 mascara, 1 bronzer, 1 luminizer, and 4 powder blushes. So this is when the powder blushes really came in, and the powder blushes have become sort of a staple and one of the things that Tarte's the most known for, and also one of the things that most people seem to like the most about Tarte is their blushes. And we'll talk more about their blushes because they really made them a staple of their holiday collections. I'm also focusing mostly on the big showstoppers of the holiday sets. So for 2009, we have the Treasure Chest. This is covered in jewels, looks very 2009 tacky. I'm not opposed to, you know, what people deem tacky. I am like a self-proclaimed tacky person, but to me this is very dated and very 2009. Once again, the contents look very similar to previous years, just slightly rearranged, a few slight different shades here and there, although some interesting eyeshadow shades for sure. I like the little set they have there that has like a blue and a green and a purple and like a dark blue. That little set of 8 shadows looks very on trend for right now, which really goes to show you that like 10 years later, those are the shades that are in again. But it's a very interesting combination of products. Again, you have the shadows, you have the lip products, you have the cheek products, and it's all in one kit. So there was a Tarte Holiday 2010 gift guide. So that big palette retailed for $52 and was a Sephora exclusive with a reusable necklace as well. There was a Royal Collection limited edition palette, which included a couple sample sizes like mascara and a lip product. They had a limited edition mini cheek stain and reusable ring set, and then Good as Gold limited edition lip gloss gift set. So it definitely started to become a thing with gift sets, and they were really heavy with the marketing towards holiday. There was a lot of bling, a lot of gold. You could see that they tried with the like reusable jewelry angle. They tried to put, you know, sequins and rhinestones and ribbons on the packaging. Okay, so I did kind of combine 2009 and 2010 together, but they are very similar. What they did for 2010 was very similar to what they did in 2009, just like minus the jewels on it. For 2011, we have the Starlit Makeup Vanity, which has pull-out drawers. It looks very much like acrylic makeup storage things, and there was a smaller palette similar to previous years with shades similar to what we're seeing being released recently. Again, very interesting with the greens and the blues. So again, you have the set of the lip crayons and then the eye crayons, and then you have the blushes. And you can see in the big makeup vanity, there's different sets of eyeshadow and then blushes as well as mascara, which Tarte has really become known for. But I find it really interesting. Like, this is a pretty boring palette, and I think most people would tear this to shreds right now, but it definitely is different from, I think, what I imagine Tarte anyway. Like, there's so many grays, but here's the thing. This is a very cool toned palette. This is definitely something that people have been asking for. Yes, there's a lot of repetition here, a lot of boring, quote unquote, boring neutral shades, but it is closer to the direction of the things that I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have been wanting brands to release. I just thought people would find this interesting more than anything, just to see the comparison of things that have been coming out more recently and what used to be around. 2012 had Carried Away and The Big Thrill, so more multi-product sets and large packaging. There was also some smaller sets for cheeks and for liners. So you can see the large set with a bunch of different quads of eyeshadows. So you have the green and you have the blue, and then you have like a neutral shade with like browns and peaches, and you have purple, and then you have the lip glosses, the mascara, the powder, the blush, and the brushes. So very typical of Tarte. And then when you look at the holiday sets, the blushes, the eyeliner sets, I feel like a lot of those, you know, if you updated the packaging to what they had released, it would look sort of the same, like 2013, 2014, 2015. Like, that was very the generic holiday packaging that Tarte kept. They had a very specific formula with the packaging and even a lot of the shades and the products included. 2013 was probably their biggest collection at the time. They had a massive set that was one of those like travel beauty bags that you could sort of hang on a hook or like on the back of your door or something, and it had the big sort of neutral eyeshadow palette in it and a bunch of the sample size, the blush, the face oil, mascara, face powder, as well as a set of lip products as well. This was a very large kit. Their 2013 collection was comprised of a lot of things. Like, that was the big thing. That was the big ticket item. And then there was another sort of jewelry box style thing with the face and eye powders with lip products, and then another smaller set with more eyes but some cheek product, and then more lip products and eyeliners. And like I said, in the packaging looks very similar to their other holiday packaging from previous years with the various lip and like liner products in them. 2014, similar yet again. We have a very large, neutral, very boring eyeshadow palette. It doesn't say anything holiday. It goes kind of against the whole packaging. Like, it's sort of surprising when you look at the shadow they included for their holiday set. There's nothing about it that says holiday, yet the package is very reminiscent of their sort of previous holiday collections and things that were perhaps a little bit more holiday. This just didn't seem to be anything holiday specific, with, you know, sort of pink lip products and mascara and very repetitive neutral eyeshadows. And also very bulky packaging that would make it very difficult to store these things, and it would be very cumbersome to use. 2015 brought the Light of the Party palette and the Bling It On blush palette and the Big Blush book, which was a huge hit. The blush definitely overshadowed the rest of the items being released, and even going back to 2014 when they first released that, that's the first one that I could find, like the real dedicated blush palette with that Amazonian clay sort of formula that they became known for. And then when they released the palettes, they were in demand. They sold out so quickly, so they kept releasing them. And then they did the big blush books, which were incredibly successful because they were even larger, so it was like more product, although quite large, bulky, awkward packaging, but a lot of product and for a lower cost. So the value was definitely there. If you enjoyed the blushes, this was the way to go, and this was a thing people started to look forward to a lot during the holiday season. 2016 had another large and cumbersome palette. This was part of the Pretty Paint Box color vibes, which wasn't very colorful at all. So it was such a misleading name. Like, the packaging was colorful, but the actual products themselves were not colorful. And it wasn't even that you were getting colorful like eyeliners or unusual lipsticks or blush colors to like to go with a more neutral eye. Everything was just very neutral and not very colorful at all. I fell for the blush palette thing. I bought one of the double blush palettes and I still have it, still use it. And they have the Tarte paint palette as well. So some interesting looking things, including their gift sets and the things that they released in 2015, but it was a lot of product and almost overwhelming, where they would have exclusives at so many different locations, and there definitely was frustration with people that they couldn't get things because it wasn't available to them. So like you could get something at Sephora, but it wasn't going to be at Ulta, and you could get something at QVC, but you couldn't get it at Sephora, and so it was very limited to where your location was. And also things were just different enough that it was like you really didn't need to have everything, but it was different enough that people who were like collectors, and especially I feel like 2015, 2016 was really a big height of people wanting all of the limited edition things and wanting to kind of collect them all, and Tarte really fed into this, I feel like, very heavily when you see the amount of product that they had this year. 2017 had some unusual releases. There was the Treasure Box, the Magic Star, some large palettes with travel size versions of popular items, the lip products, the mascara, the liner, as we've previously seen, but some unusual looking things and things that didn't necessarily look holiday either, but just were very similar to previous years. But the blush palette was in demand, and the blush book also in very high demand. A lot of the people didn't seem to review the eyeshadow very favorably, but the lip products were pretty good as well if you liked the formula, and also the gift sets were convenient if you wanted to have them for yourself or if you wanted to share them with people. It was a really good way to gift people things or to split them amongst friends. I did that myself. I know with my sister we split some stuff because it was easier that way, and there was stuff that I wanted that she didn't want, and so we just split. And it worked. And that's sort of the benefit of those sort of gift sets. But again, 2017, there was a lot of stuff. Now, 2018 is where things get weird. 2018, something weird happened with Tarte because you have the pineapple eyeshadow palette, which made zero sense. Absolutely zero sense. You had eyeshadow, eyeliner, mascara, lipstick, but pineapple, you had tropical themed brushes, and then you had a school themed blush book. None of it went together. None of it really made a whole lot of sense, and definitely nothing of seemed holiday. Not that a brand has to like shove candy canes and snowmen down your throat, but it was such a weird departure for Tarte and so unlike anything that they had ever done before. It was just very unusual to have these, you know, pineapple brushes or like the flamingo brushes. The blush palette, of course, was successful, but the rest of it just is very head scratching. Like, what, why? It was very bizarre. So this was also notably the last blush book. They haven't done one since 2018, that weird school sort of lined notebook one. In 2019, we're back to more of a holiday winter theme. We have Winter Wonderland. It's a luxe eyeshadow palette. So you have smaller item sets, and they're moving away from holiday themes, but and like that holiday sort of excuse to be tacky with rhinestones and all that kind of stuff, and making products that would actually last past Christmas Day. Because a lot of the things that I've noticed personally with a lot of the holiday things is that if they were too specifically holiday, people didn't really want to use it into like January and February, and then they'd kind of sit because it was so specific to a time. But some of the stuff was just so festive, and some of like the larger palettes were so large that they just weren't practical or things that people would reach for more often. The Winter Wonderland palette from 2019 is an interesting combination of their previous packaging and their previous palettes, but it looks a little bit more interesting, like some actual thought might have gone into it as opposed to just a bunch of repetitive shades. Like, yes, there's a lot of repetitive shades in here, but there's a little bit more variety than sort of what they seem to get stuck in, especially what they seem to get stuck in like 2012 to like 2017. So that was interesting. And of course, blush palette and just a lot of interesting sets of products they had in 2019, and they seemed to have some pretty successful and interesting products as well. Now, 2020 is really what made me want to do this, because I really like the direction that Tarte has taken their holiday collections. I really like what they've evolved into. Now, I know there has been criticism because of formula changes for the product, which is undoubtedly going to happen unless these are going to be products they are going to be able to sell more. So initially I was thinking, like with the mini palettes. So you had the mini Tarte lip palettes, the mini In Bloom, Lil Toasted, and Lil Juicy, and they look like things that could be sold year round. So it's kind of confusing that they are poor quality, like in compared to like the regular palettes, but they are sold as a set. So maybe if they were sold individually, they would have better quality, and I think it does have the potential to be sold that way, and I feel like people would be interested in purchasing these little palettes. Like these smaller size palettes are definitely what people seem to be leaning more towards these days, because there's a lot of product in the larger palettes. There's, you know, with large eyeshadow pans, as people are getting more into makeup and kind of collecting, accumulating more things, it becomes harder to use everything, and people just seem in general to want to have less stuff, or at least to have you know, less quantity, more quality. So in my opinion, from just from my own perspective and from what I've witnessed, it seems like that's the direction people in general want. This is not everybody. I know that there's going to be people who are going to say, but I want the large palettes, but I want this. I just mean in general, not every single person. But that way you can have the smaller size palettes, you can have the smaller pan sizes, and you can have a larger variety of things, as opposed to having a less variety because you have larger pan sizes and that kind of stuff. So I could see that being a success, and I could see that being a success for a lot of brands if this is the direction they chose to go in, and like make these sort of like a holiday thing and sell it in their bundles, but then actually have it something that's usable year round, and especially making stuff that's more permanent that is released around the holiday times, I think would also be successful, because with the constant release of products and with constant limited edition products, people stop talking about it so quickly, and then people are less likely to invest in something that people aren't going to talk about, like if you are very into makeup. So generally anybody who is participating either as a viewer or a creator in like a YouTube, Instagram, social media, beauty space isn't necessarily going to look at a limited edition product as a long-term investment, right? Because you're not, a lot of people, especially like look at larger beauty channels, they'll do their video on the limited edition product, they'll do the review that their audience wants to see, but then afterwards they probably are just going to declutter the stuff because they're not going to use it, because they can't sell it because it's limited edition product. So if these things were permanent, people would talk about it more. It would just be like a better investment for the brand, in my opinion. I just feel like that's how it would work better. Just kind of do a big promotion around the holiday time, let people enjoy the product before constantly pumping out new releases. But also I appreciate that there's less stuff. Like there's a few gift sets, and like there's lip products and cheek products, and it's not too much stuff. It's not every single category. It's enough things, but not like some of the like mid 2010 years where there was so many products that and so many releases, it was just crazy. Like I really appreciate that in general. It seems like some brands, Tarte being the example here, has slowed down and has been a little bit more thoughtful with the releases. Whether or not the quality is actually good is a whole other thing, but that goes back to, if it's a limited edition product, and they want to make more money off of it, and it's a value bundle, it's going to have cut corners somewhere in order to save that money so that their profit is even larger. So just something to keep in mind as well, because money at the end of the day is why these things have been created. It's not out of the goodness of their hearts or because they wanted to create something that they felt like was missing from the market. It's because you make a lot of money off of purchases during the holiday season. It's a time where people buy for themselves, buy for their friends, buy for their family. It is a season of buying. So they are going to cut corners where they can. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and if the quality improves, I think that this would be a very interesting, probably successful route for Tarte to go, as opposed to the large, very difficult to store and use eyeshadow palettes that you never see people use past New Year's, right? So anyway, I just wanted to share this stuff because I thought it was interesting. It was interesting to me anyway. I hope you found it interesting. I love digging into makeup history and looking at different brands and looking at different products and different releases, and I thought this might be something that people would get a kick out of, because it's interesting to see how things evolve and change over time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Let me know if you would purchase any of these things from years past. Do any of these stick out to you as something that you would be really interested in? let's pretend quality isn't a factor here. Let's imagine this would be like your perfect formulas. Just what do you think about like the color story or like the packaging and that kind of stuff? So I'd really love to hear from you. Let me know if you have any requests, if there's any brands or products or themes or anything that you would like me to do a little digging into. I'm always looking forward to your suggestions and your ideas. It really gives me somewhere to start, and that's like my hardest thing for me, is finding a starting spot. So if you have any suggestions or if there's anything you're curious about, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.